Okay, so hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. This is Finance Meets Real Estate. We have Maurice Philogene, is it? Hope I pronounce it correctly, here today. So it's a real pleasure to have him. So he's going to talk about freedom principles that he employs in his life and his real estate investing and real estate journey. So he is the founding and managing partner at Quattro Capital. And he is a senior executive as well with Accenture. And he is also a restaurant owner, federal agent and police officer, philanthropist, real estate investor and entrepreneur, and lifestyle design and wealth coach. So he has traveled and explored over 100 countries. And his passion is leveraging freedom principles. So he's going to talk about freedom principles today, how to acquire more financial, geographic, time freedom, freedom of purpose, and freedom of relationships. I'm extremely interested to hear what he has to say, and it's a pleasure to have him. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Maurice. And just in case you guys have any questions, so we do usually 45 minutes lecture, just put your questions on the chat, please. And then at the end, we are going to open up for Q&A. Thank you. You're good, Maurice.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I appreciate this, Stefan. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the other, 20 people, wherever you are, the fact you took time out of your day to just spend a few minutes with me and Stefan. I'm grateful for that. We're all busy. We all have families. The reason why I wanted to come on is because my life has become very driven by freedom principles. I think probably many of you have seen me on LinkedIn or Instagram or something where we connected. And of course, I talk about real estate and financial topics, but real estate and finance are just a mechanism by which we can live our lives extremely well, or at least try to. So just a little bit of background on myself. I am born in New York, raised in Boston, live in DC. I'm from an immigrant family. My family's from Haiti. I ended up in DC by way of University of Virginia, and I have always had two careers that have been with me since I was a young pup of 21. Those two careers have been consulting. I'm still a senior executive at Accenture, which is a global consulting firm. I'm on year 24, which is crazy. If you guys remember Anderson Consulting back in the day, we became Accenture in 2000. So I'm still at Accenture, and then I was always a military guy. I retired from the military in late 2019. It is still hard to say, as a lieutenant colonel and federal agent out of the Air Force. And I see Jay over there. The military was a beautiful thing, and I love it for everything. But because I had those two careers, I did get the sense when I was 21 that I did not want to sit behind a desk for the rest of my life. So I started researching financial principles, landed on real estate, landed on the concept of passive income, and at a very ripe, or I should say young age of 23, 24, realized that we all have the ability to divorce our ability to make money from having to physically be somewhere. And that's through passive income or any type of other investments that we make. So I did find real estate. I stayed in single family for quite some time, earned my financial freedom through single family real estate, ending up with a portfolio of 18 paid off places after 14 years. We can talk about that later. I used systematic patience to do that. And then in 2015, I switched over to multifamily, started buying apartment complexes and mobile home parks, founded Quattro Capital about 2 years ago, and my crew has been on a tear. We have closed on 11 apartment complexes in 18 months. We have our 12th complex closing tomorrow, and then our 13th 2 weeks later. And it's just been fantastic. Real estate is a tool, though. Everything else about me is about living extremely well. When Stefan talked to you about freedom principles, those are, for me, 5 of them anyway, although I'm researching more: financial freedom, time freedom, geographic freedom, freedom of purpose, and freedom of relationships. I leverage those on a day-to-day basis to live extremely well Case in point, geographic freedom. I don't need to physically be anywhere to execute on my business or to execute on my family. So either Thursday night or Friday night, I am picking up and I'm going to base out of the Mediterranean for the next few months while I do some work in real estate in Cyprus. I really think, as I have spent time with people that I've coached or just peers like you guys, if we focus on one or more of those freedom principles, it gives us meaning to go to that 9 to 5 every day, because we use that hard-earned active income to go after, freedom, whether it's time freedom, financial freedom, being out on the road, constant learning, what have you. So I have structured my life after these freedom principles, and I just wanted to state that and answer any questions about that and how I've used real estate to really create this lifestyle. I've kind of designed my life in a very, very unique way, and I'm putting it back out there into the environment, because all of us, none of us were intended to sit behind a desk for our entire life. It's just not the way that it's supposed to be. If you can get intentional about what you are doing, there are so many ways to unplug from the typical lifestyle that we were all told that we were supposed to have when we became adults. So hopefully, Stefan, that's a good kind of explanation of why I thought it was important to come speak with you and the crew.
No, that's absolutely great. And you're currently in Cyprus, right, Maurice?
Today I'm in DC. I'm still in DC today,
okay.
but I'm leaving Thursday night or Friday night.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know yet which day.
Okay, so you enjoy like the Mediterranean?
I love it, man. And that stemmed from my travels, not as a tourist. I love to immerse myself in different cultures. And when I spent a good year in Turkey, I was floating around the region between the Aegean region and the Mediterranean, and I just fell for it, man. I felt at home. I felt like I belonged, and I am constantly there now, probably once every 6 or 7 weeks.
All right, that's awesome. That's awesome. And do you want to tell us more about your like how you started in like after the 18? So you had 18 single families, right? So you mentioned like essentially having this systematic patience, right? Systematic patience to execute something that is in a way repetitive.
Yeah.
That could not be, have like a very high level of excitement, but nevertheless brings results over the long run. So that's something you do. And then in the recent 18 months, you started with apartment complexes. Is that right?
No, I started apartment complexes in 2015, but maybe 2 years ago, I formed Quattro Capital with a couple partners. And in the past 18 months, we've done 11 apartment complex deals.
Yeah, which is amazing. So
that's
how were you able to achieve it? How were by partnering with others on deals or doing like direct owner marketing? Like what was your approach with regards to kind of sourcing deals, sourcing capital and
business and life is about people, right? I mentioned that last freedom principle, freedom of relationships. What I mean by that is nothing in our lives should stop us from building and growing and connecting with new people. I'm not talking about networking. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is if we have a job that we don't like and we're stuck behind a desk for 17 hours a day, that keeps us from me meeting someone like you, Stefan, or spending time with someone like Vish, who I know very well, because people are what make us grow. So I am constantly on the hunt for relationships that I can give to or that can give back to me. I met some of my now partners. We did one deal together and realized that we were better together because we had very synergistic skills, formed our company, got a business coach, really invested in the process, and it has turned into something really, really special.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what was your first deal, if you want to kind of give an example?
Yeah. So I'll answer.
Many people in our audience, they do maybe single family investing. They want to jump into, bigger like apartment complexes.
Yeah.
Kind of an interesting topic to touch on.
So I like to make things very real. And I think some of you guys out there are probably single family investors or just getting started, or you're an executive somewhere, or you're in management, whatever. Look, everybody on this call has the ability to achieve financial freedom in 5 years, in my opinion. Everybody, everybody. And the way that I did it was through single family investing. This is the formula. It is not sexy. It can be replicated by anyone. I just developed it over time and it worked for me. Here's what I did. Instead of saving money, I stored money. I paid myself first. I got that philosophy from Rich Dad Poor Dad. Every bit of money I made, I put it in a savings account for the purpose of storing it. I bought my first condo when I was 23 years old in 2002 or 2003. Purchased that condo. It cash flowed, I think, like $100 or $200, something like that. So then I took my salary from Accenture. If I was making any military salary, I added that. And then I took the cash flow from that first property, and I was willing to wait and not spend my money on crap. And I took the money from that and I bought a second condo. Now I have 2 condos that are cash flowing. I took my salary from Accenture, salary from the military, the cash flow from the 2 condos. I stored money until I had enough to do the next deal. Now I have 3 condos, and I just press repeat for 14 years. I never wavered. I never chased the shiny ball. I never went after other things that probably could have made me more money. I was so focused on creating enough passive income that I could leave work if I wanted to. What ended up happening is when I was doing that, it was during the 2002 to 2008 real estate boom cycle. A lot of those properties appreciated. I got up to 35 single family homes, self-managing, as far north, south from each other as 300 miles, but I was willing to do it. Got up to the 35 homes, sold some of them, and I found myself with 18 paid off places in 2014, making more money than I was making from a corporate perspective. But it goes to show you that life is not about money, because at that point, I think I was 34. I could have left work. I never left work. My goals were too much. And you start to realize that life is not about money. But I realized, Stefan, that I wasn't growing because I was just pressing repeat on the same plan over and over. So as an individual, I wasn't growing. So the next logical step was other stuff. I got involved with restaurants in DC. And then I found multifamily. And then I went to one seminar. I was in there for 7 minutes and I plopped down a bunch of money because I just knew that I needed a new challenge. It took me 3 years, 2.5 years to get over limiting beliefs to do my first deal. I invested in myself. I got a mentor. That mentor really didn't help me from a mechanics perspective of multifamily, but he did help me from a limiting beliefs mindset perspective. Once I did my first deal, which was a limited partner deal, that opened the floodgates because a few months later, I bought 2 mobile home parks. And then a few months later, I think I did 2 or 3 more regular apartment deals. And then started Quattro after sponsoring somebody else in a deal. And it has just grown. And the beautiful thing about it, it's not because, this is what people don't realize. If you can make enough passive income to satisfy your basic needs, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you're just growing from there. So I still have all those condos. Those still pay my bills, right? And then I'm growing everything else from there. I jokingly say, but it's actually true, any money I make at this point either belongs to my family legacy or to society, because I don't need it. I have enough to cover my basic needs and to travel around the world and do the things that I want to do. But that's how the real estate journey started. And if people could show a little bit of systematic patience and not chase the next Bitcoin or baseball cards or NFTs, or like just pick one thing, stay consistent, get after your financial freedom and enough money to cover your basic needs. When your basic needs are covered, your options as a human skyrocket. So that's kind of how the real estate journey materialized. And I wanted to put the single family investing part out there because that may feel more real for people who are, currently working today and can execute the same thing if they want to.
And what about, let's say 2 to 4 unit, like smaller multifamily? Is that something you would recommend, or kind of jumping from single family directly to apartment, larger apartment?
I mean, if you can do it, I would say go as big as you can first. But I say that with a caveat. It doesn't matter what you invest in. What matters is what your goal is. if people have a goal to have financial freedom and you need $4,000 a month to do it, then maybe 4 or 5 single families or 2 or 3 2-unit, 3-unit, 4-unit buildings using house hacking or something is enough. It could very well be enough. You don't have to chase what everybody else is doing. What is your definition of success? Then pick the right asset to go after it. The only reason I'm doing the big multifamilies now, I'm doing it for 2 reasons. 3 reasons. 1, I needed to grow as a person. That was bar none. I was flatlining. I wasn't growing. 2, I have philanthropy goals now. Yes, and you mentioned it, I'm a police officer. Yes, I can go give my direct time to the community to give something back. But do you know how much more impact I can make on a community when I write a $100,000 check for a cause? That is even more powerful than me giving 2 hours to a cause or something like that. So that's the second reason why I do it. And then the third reason why I do the big multifamily is for lifestyle. Everything that I'm doing on the island of Cyprus now is not because I necessarily need the money. It's because I want to live an extraordinary life and I want to spend my time between here and the Mediterranean. So I chose to do that avenue. I don't want to be the American foreigner who's coming and sitting in all the restaurants and then he leaves. I want to be the American who shows up, who's a meaningful part of the community and doing something good. So that's why I invest in those things. But for anyone here, like, figure out what your goal is. If you are going after a simple passive income financial freedom goal, you might only need to do 3, 4, 5 condos or 2 or 3 2-unit, 3-unit, 4 units, which I love, by the way, because people can do house hacking and use an FHA and live in one, rent out the others, move out in 9, 10 months and press repeat. I have a colleague at the police department where I work. I helped her, I put her on a path to house hacking. She's buying her first 4-unit. She's living in one. It will cash flow positive $1,500 a month. By the time she moves out at month 10, the rents will go up by about $50. It'll get to about 2,000 of cash flow. I'm sorry, like 1,800 of cash flow. If she does that 4 times in the next 5 years, she's free. That's 10 grand. But she has systematic patience to get it done. So see, she laid out a plan. She doesn't need to go do a 100-unit apartment complex to have her freedom. So, you know, it all depends on the goal, Stefan, as far as like, you know, what I would recommend or what people should do.
Maurice, what about kind of, how does it reconcile, let's say, keeping your corporate job? You know, I'm sure for many people they're wondering, yet reconciling that with freedom principles. Isn't it a major kind of obstruction to freedom? Most people, it depends what you want. Yeah, so.
For me, it was not an obstruction. For me, it was like throwing lighter fluid on the fire. Because if I was getting 6 figures of passive income coming in from real estate, and I have another 6 figures coming in from the employer, I'm just able to acquire that many more, you know what I mean? That much more assets over time. And the other thing is, I like my work. I really enjoy working. The government agency who's my client on the consulting side, they're an agency that serves the American community in the environment. Love it. I can do that. I cannot go work for American Express and just make money. It doesn't compute with me. So I have always stayed there, and I've asked a better question at work in terms of being able to balance everything that I do. But for my goals and for what I wanted to accomplish, it made sense to stay there. I could have left almost 10 years ago, and I'm still here because I enjoy it. So, you know, it's just a choice. It depends on what people are trying to do.
All right, so we have a couple of questions actually on the chat already.
Yeah.
So we can, so for example, so first question, can you please break out your 5 freedom principles? I know you mentioned them, but like if you want to elaborate a little bit more on
Yeah, oh yeah, let's hit it. All right, so first, financial freedom. And my definition of financial freedom is simply having more passive income than you have bills. That's it. Just having more passive income than you have bills. You can accomplish that very simply, very simply. People have I think that people have a misconception that to be financially free, you have to have $2, $3, or $4 million sitting in the bank. Bull. That is a bunch of malarkey. If you have money sitting in the bank and you go use it, you're tearing down your principal. So that's not necessarily financial freedom. What it is to me is your ability to live on a monthly basis. So that's financial freedom. The second is time freedom. you know, time is the only real asset that we have. If you live to 79, that's 28,000 days. I made a post last week. I have 12,418 days left. I need to use my time wisely. I'm very aware of how much time I have left on this planet, and that's why I will not do silly things or spend time at networking events or things that I don't think are going to bring any value to my life at all. But one of the ways that you can get time freedom is by generating passive income, because it divorces your need to have to physically be somewhere. So time freedom, that's what time freedom is. Geographic freedom is a beautiful thing. It might sound to you like, oh, he just travels. No, no, no. I have set up my entire life now in a very automated fashion. All my mail is automated. I don't receive mail anywhere. It comes into an online interface. I can run Quattro Capital with a laptop and a phone. I don't buy a lot of commercial junk, because anything you buy, it's like putting a debt that you have to deal with that thing later. I just don't buy a lot of stuff at all, because it keeps me light and gives me the ability to move around. And I'm a very good travel hacker. So my entire business and personal life go through 2 credit cards, and I probably generate a business class ticket once every 4 weeks or so.
Maurice, sorry to interrupt. So what do you use for the online interface, online electronic mail, essentially?
Oh, yeah, I use Earth Class Mail. Earth Class Mail.
Earth Class Mail? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll even bring it up if we have time later. But I look at my mail like once a month, and if the check shows up in the mail, it already has an algorithm where it'll recognize the check and then automatically forward it to my bank for me.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's great. So any other like automation that helps you with that, like to be able to be location flexible?
I want to be location flexible.
Yeah. So one item is your physical mail. Like, did you find that you need to like automate other aspects of your life potentially to achieve that?
Yeah, I mean, either automate or outsource. It's one of those two, right? So I mean, this is an easy one, but someone does the grass at the house, or someone maintains the physical of the house if I'm not here or something like that. But when I have to, for example, interact with my team and I'm not available, we'll use Loom, which is an online software where you can do like a little video on top of a presentation. So instead of having a 1-hour meeting with your whole team, you can just send an email that has you speaking on top of the information that you want to show to everybody, right? Yeah, there's different, what else, what other tools? Goodness, easy stuff, WhatsApp, voice notes, Google Drive, Dropbox, email, of course. I am purposefully, Stefan, not doing anything that would impede me from being location independent. Outside having a small, an 8-year-old, that's the only thing that kind of like, we have to manage that a little bit, but I want to be able to get up and move when I need to.
Got it. That's great. So another question on the chat, can you give a bit more details about international investment? Do you do international investment, or is it only US investment that you do?
No, I do now. I am with a partner. I'm buying land in the Mediterranean. We're developing it into apartments and townhomes, seaside land or land that's in the mountains. And that is outside of Quattro. So with Quattro, that's mainly multifamily in the US, but the work that I'm doing in the Mediterranean is a lifestyle choice. It's profitable, but it was more so because I wanted to be a part of the community over there. So I am learning as I go. And that is the one thing I will give as far as advice that I will give you guys. Like whether it's real estate in the US or you want to learn how to be a boxer or whatever, I have no idea about international real estate 6 months ago, none. But I found someone who did, and I'm willing to just jump into it and course correct as I go. I'm going to have to meet a lot of government officials. Listen, the reason why we have fear, right? It's false evidence appearing real. The reason why we have fear is because we just don't have the information. So I hired an attorney over there. She's been educating me on it. I'm learning as I go, and I will figure it out. But I was very bullish on doing something like that, Stefan, because it was the next lifestyle move for me.
Okay, that's great. And the last, because you mentioned like what are 4 and 5, number 4 and 5 from the freedom. principles, yeah?
Yeah, it's freedom of purpose. So obviously I mentioned, or Stefan, you mentioned to the crew here that I'm a police officer as well. I obviously did not do that for the money. It's purposeful for me to be part of my community in a meaningful way here. I've done everything from, you know, get burglars out of people's homes to carrying a woman down 8 flights of steps in a high rise when there was a fire, or work with autistic kids in the community as a police. Like I like that. But beyond kind of the typical give back to community, when you have purpose, and I think many of you are on this call because you have some sort of purpose related to freedom or financial freedom or time freedom, whatever. If you have purpose, you will do the things that I do. Like Stefan, you asked, like, why in the world, Maurice, would you still be at a corporate firm, be a police officer, do all this investing if you have the money? Because I have purpose. There's stuff that I'm trying to get done. So people hate going to their job, fine. But if you have purpose, if you're trying to get financial freedom, then it makes going to that job way more meaningful, way easier if you have a plan that you're executing. And then the last freedom principle there was the freedom of relationships. We grow when we meet people who know something different than us. That's bar none what it is. We were doing that in grade school. We were doing it in junior high, in high school, college. We do it in the real world for a while, and then we just start pressing repeat every day. We get into this loop, the rat race, which drives me insane. I purposefully seek out new relationships that I think I can add value to, or they can add value to me. That is how I found a business partner for my endeavors overseas. We became the best of friends, and now we're business partners because I want to constantly grow as a person, and you need relationships for that.
That's awesome. Thanks for clarifying. And yeah, so another question we have, just one moment. So did you start buying in your name or a business entity? And if in your name, when did you make the switch?
When I first started, I didn't know anything about LLCs or any of that stuff. I was just buying. Over time, I did learn about liability. So fortunately, in the state of Maryland and in DC, you can quit claim. So I started quit claiming from my personal name into the name of an LLC. And then from there, I've never bought anything in my personal name ever again.
Mm-hmm. So how do you find, like, the financing side gets pretty complicated in LLC? Usually it can be a pain, no? I mean, unless you're on the commercial side, referring to the single family investing part.
Yeah, it's not a pain when you have purpose, when you're doing it for a reason, right? But I hear you. I mean, there's some risk there. But in the 2000s, listen, I mean, it was a timing thing. In the 2000s, there was like no doc loans and money was just being printed. It was kind of crazy what was happening back then. But I did get to a point where I did need money and down payments. And because I was working 3 full-time jobs, it didn't take me very long to have enough money to make a down payment on something and buy a home. For the multifamily, obviously now I work with investor partners. They invest money in the deals that we do. I think probably over the last, I don't know, year and a half or so, we've probably invested about 20 million of folks' funds. And I'm really proud of that because I'm helping them achieve their own goals. So it just depends. And what people don't realize is that in single family, you're personally liable for that loan. In multifamily or commercial, more often than not, you're not personally liable. The property is what secures the loan, but certainly your reputation is on the line. So it's what's called non-recourse versus recourse. That's why I like multifamily, because it's non-recourse loans.
Yep. And so if you can go a little bit more about the outsourcing part that you mentioned. So you shared already like some of the tools that you like to use, like online tools and and stuff, you know, on the automation side. But what about outsourcing? So what you utilize, you know, with
I mean, at various different times, depending on where I am on my journey, I've employed virtual assistants. I've gotten help with social media, employing someone to help me understand like how I want to put messaging out, although I do all my social media by myself now. We hire third-party property managers for all the properties. So I don't, outside of one condo that I have owned since 2004, which I still have the same resident. So he just calls me and says, hey, I'm going to fix something. I'm like, no problem. But I don't manage anything anymore. I have third-party managers for everything. So all I need to do to run the real estate, or what we do for Quattro, is we manage the managers. I will be on phone calls with, I was on one today, with a property manager who's running our 128 unit in Texas, in Tennessee. They run it, but we run them, if that makes sense. And I don't want to say that because they're not my employee. They are my partner. I really need them. I don't want to do, I am not interested in full-time employees. I could, and Quattro could, bring on employees to handle more business aspects. We're purposefully choosing not to. I mean, I don't want to, because I want to live a certain style of life. So I don't want I have no interest in having employees whatsoever. So outsource stuff at home, outsource the 80% of the things that give me the 20% of results. So I'll, use virtual assistants for stuff. And then all the automation that we talked about, Stefan.
Okay, got it. That's great. And another question on the quit claim part that you mentioned. So did that trigger the due on sale clause? How did you work around that? Because you mentioned specifically in Maryland, and what were the two states?
I've quit claimed in Maryland and DC. I cannot remember if I did it in Virginia, but in Maryland and DC, I've done it.
What do you think actually about Maryland with regards to quit claim? I wasn't sure. Like, what is different about Maryland when it comes to doing a
Maryland recognizes that people want to put things in an LLC for liability purposes. Mm-hmm. So the quit claim allows you to move that property out of your name into an LLC name without triggering taxes, recordation taxes. Now, the question that was asked about triggering the due on sale clause, the mortgage, I have never heard of a mortgage being called because of a quit claim. In my 25 years of doing real estate, I've never seen it. It is technically possible, but what mortgagors and financiers care about is their payments that are showing up. As long as their payments are showing up, they're not going to call you for any reason whatsoever. So the people that I coach who've asked me about quit claiming, I recommend it, because what is really going to happen, as long as you pay your mortgage, everything is going to be fine. You have way less liability when the property is in the name of an LLC.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the next question is, do you have external parties that you hire to do the due diligence for you before you decide to make an investment?
So I have 4 other partners, so there's 5 of us in total. We have our own well-refined way that we execute physical diligence and financial diligence that has been refined over a year's time, even to the extent that my business partner, Chad Sutton, who's just amazing, developed our own underwriting software because it was just better. I've used 4 or 5 commercial products, and what we've developed is just better, and it works for us. So no, I won't outsource diligence. Here's why. I am a fiduciary for the people's money who invest in the projects that I'm a part of. I personally need to know what is going on with that property. I do not feel comfortable having a third party. If I did have a third party, it would be them reporting to me every single day, every single minute about what they are looking at. Because if my friend Rachel, for example, took a line of equity on her on one of her properties that she owned, and she's investing that, I am duly responsible for her making that decision. I need to know everything going on to feel comfortable as an investor that I'm doing the right thing. So there's this adage in business: the further away you get away from diligence and the money, the more you lose control and you lose sight of what's going on. I stay as close as possible to diligence and what's happening with money. I look at my accounts every single day. Any property, I'm looking at the accounts every day. I want to know what's happening.
Got it. How did you guys go about capital raising? Because you mentioned like basically having like about 20 million of investor funds. So is it online marketing or contacts that like you guys have between yourself and your partners?
I think all of us, me and my 4 partners, we represent about 90 years worth of professional experience outside of real estate. Okay. That's the other benefit I had, Stefan, of having careers in different spaces, whether it was law enforcement, military, consulting, or whatever I was doing. That means our networks run pretty deep. Once we did form, people were already comfortable with who we were as people, our integrity, where we were coming from, and our goals, and that makes people comfortable. I have never once marketed any property online. Never. We can if we do a 506c from an SEC perspective, and maybe that will happen in the future. But everything that we've done from a quote unquote raising perspective has just been conversations with amazing people like on this call who have worked extremely hard for money that they have saved, who want to deploy it in a different way other than sticking it in a 401k or stock market or something else. And they want to be part of an operating team that knows what they're doing, that communicates extremely well. And once people get comfortable, money starts to flow. The one thing I didn't realize when I got into multifamily, I'm not taking people's money. That is not what's occurring. What is occurring is you're helping people achieve their goals, whether it's passive income, legacy for their family, helping them get out of the W-2 world. I probably spend 70% of my time just talking to investor partners about how projects we have can help them with their life. That's the part of it that I really love, is helping people achieve their goals. That's how we raise. It's like, what's the problem you have, and can one of our projects help solve it?
Okay, so that makes sense. But let's say when you build relationships, there are aspects where sometimes you need to do some kind of outreach. Now, a lot of relationships during COVID, they kind of switched online. So if you say, for example, like speaking to people like people on this call, but do you have a specific approach as to doing that? Like, I don't know, your LinkedIn contacts, your Instagram, etc. Like whichever.
Yeah.
What have you found like that worked the best for you? Let's say where you're comfortable, where you're finding kind of like-minded people that can also recognize you, like see your personality, like see your like get to know you as a person, like you said, but sort of have it in a more systematic fashion.
Social media is a game changer. I was very, very private about what I was doing in real estate until 2019. I never told anyone. I never told anyone at Accenture. I never told anyone in military, law enforcement, anything. What I have found, and a friend of mine convinced me to start posting on social media, not aspects necessarily of real estate, but what real estate has done for life purposes for me. I think I have a lot in common with everybody on this call. Somewhere, somebody here is like, man, I want to get out of the corporate world. Man, I can't stand the rat race. I want to travel. How is that person doing that? And social media connects us. So on Instagram, I'm always putting out lifestyle related, here's what I'm doing. And I hope it's coming across as authentic because I have zero to sell, nothing. On LinkedIn, actually what I'm trying to get across on LinkedIn is that we don't have to do this professional life the way that we were told to do it. You got to stay at a company for 40 years and get your pension, and that's the only thing. There's ways to exit in 5 years or less. And because I speak about those things, then I tend to have a lot of conversations with people. And then if real estate is a tool by which you can leverage to do that, then, by all means, whether it's Quattro or some other group, or whether it's the stock market or bond, I don't care. It's just connecting us all as people. So if you're asking if social media is definitely a wonderful tool, but again, it goes back to freedom principles, right? Relationships. It's just a way to connect us. And then I tend to have a lot of conversations and see if I can help someone accomplish something. And if it's not real estate, then it's something else. Like I'm helping people travel around the world now using some of the hacks that I've figured out. So I spend a lot of time on social media.
That's awesome. So in the Mediterranean, is it just Cyprus and Greece, or like?
No, Cyprus, Greece, Lebanon. I've been to Lebanon, 12 times since late 2019. So it's Turkey. I mean, it's everywhere. It's just that region. But I've been all over the world too. Like here's something. you know what? I think like the geographic freedom part, people sometimes think that, oh, I need 2 weeks to travel or 3 weeks to travel. I can't get time off from work. You know what I do? I binge travel all the time. 2019 is a great example. I went to Finland 5 times in the first half of the year. The way that I did it was I left DC on a Thursday. You arrive in Finland on a Friday. Or I left on a Wednesday. You arrive in Finland on a Thursday. I stay Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. I get back on a plane on Sunday. I'm home by 9 o'clock on Sunday. You these things, this is available to anyone, and then you get to go experience the world and immerse yourself and all that type of stuff. So I am constantly somewhere. 2 weeks ago, I just had enough of DC, and I got on a plane and I went down to Mexico, not to necessarily visit Mexico. I just wanted to work out of a co-working, co-living location and get some work done for 3 days. Why not? We miss the unknown. Like we're so good at what we all do. We've stopped like exploring new things. I don't know how to live just doing the same thing day in and day out. So I'm constantly exploring.
So would you say, I mean, people are like geographic freedom is something that's becoming more and more available, right? With people being able to work from home, and like it's an enormous development now. So, now we have people with, with any corporate job nearly, or like a lot of them, like being able to, at least partially work from home, and,
Yep.
so despite that, so a lot of people have been working from Hawaii, etc.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's a big shift. COVID, for all the COVID was horrible, but it gave us a lot of insight and a lot of opportunity. And a lot of people realize that they're, not using their time effectively. Like, traveling around a highway 4 hours a day to sit in an office 8 hours a day. Like, it's just kind of crazy. I want to give one quick example. A friend of mine who I kind of coached on a few things. She was making $200,000 as an executive in New York City. She needed a $4,000 apartment, obviously 4 or 5,000 because she's living in New York City. Well, she needed the job to pay the apartment, but she needed the apartment because she had the job. So it was just kind of like this vicious cycle that she couldn't break out of. She no longer is there. She is not in real estate. Her passion is not real estate. What she needed was to break free with geographic freedom. So she's gone now. She left that job, 200 grand, gave it up. She works as a developer now, an IT developer remotely. She's living in a co-working, co-living location outside of Lisbon on the water in Portugal. So every day when she's done work at 2 p.m., she walks out of her door and she gets to explore Portugal. And on the weekend, she gets on a train and she goes up or down to Spain, and she'll go west into France and travel into Italy. Like it's so backwards what we do to ourselves sometimes. That's why I say if you can focus on any of these freedom principles, we just tend to be happier. And she's just a happier person now.
Yeah, that's great advice over there. Do you guys want to speak up, actually? If you want to ask some questions, feel free to speak up. We've opened the floor, so.
Hey, hi, Maurice, this is Nelson here.
Hey,
and
hey there.
And we've had several people say, Nelson, you got to touch bases with him. He's got your background. So now I can actually see. And I was also in the military as well.
Right.
And I'll be reaching out to you, by the way. Actually, I already did on LinkedIn.
You got it.
Okay, good. And your freedom principles, okay, how do you incorporate that into, like, let's say your day, your week, your month, your year, as you go about setting things about? And I've got a follow-on question right besides that too.
Okay. How do I go about it? Look, it has become a bit innate now. Like, it's just ingrained in kind of what I do. I got a really good tool called the productivity pyramid. I don't do a lot of brown time. Like, I just don't waste my time on stuff that doesn't add value to life anymore. If it's not
brown time.
Yeah, there's this thing called the productivity pyramid. Brown is on the bottom. It's just the junk that we do. We waste time on Netflix. We waste time going to corporate events that will provide us no value whatsoever. We waste time hanging out with our buddies at the bar and having a hangover the next day. Like, I just don't do those things anymore. because I need to be spending my time doing what's called green time and gold. Green is the stuff, Nelson, that you and I need to do to get our business off the ground, to take care of our family, to run to the bank, to set up business. This is green time for me with Stefan. It's kind of green and gold, but I'll get into the gold because I feel it's my duty to give back all these things that I've learned. I got nothing to sell anyone whatsoever. I don't want people sitting behind a desk for the rest of their life. And then gold time is the stuff that speaks to you, right? That's why I'm constantly on a plane, man, because every time I immerse in some new culture, I feel like a kid again, where I'm learning again. It feels good, you know what I mean? If my activities are not supporting financial freedom, time freedom, geographic freedom, something that gives me purpose or my ability to meet someone like Nelson and build a new relationship, I ain't got time for it. Because we only have a certain amount of time. I just told you I have 12,418 days left. That's very specific. When you look at it from that perspective, like, man, I'm not going to waste my time this week, my time or money, on doing things that are not going to add value to me in a very meaningful way. So that's how I kind of incorporate. And I'm always thinking about, is this activity right now with you guys, there's going to be someone in here I'm going to build a relationship with. We're going to become friends. We're going to travel together. We may do a deal together. I may help. I think it was Keisha who was saying something on the phone, on the chat. I may help Keisha like with a limiting belief or something. Good shit is going to come out of this one way or the other. That is why I like doing these calls to push people, but I'm not wasting my time on dumb stuff at all anymore. That's how I incorporate freedom principles in everything I do.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And then when you're talking about the freedom principles, the other thing is you mentioned you have an 8-year-old. How do you incorporate the 8-year-old in that?
Yeah, he's right here. He just walked into the room.
Okay, well, he just incorporated himself.
Yeah, so it might feel like, how is he doing that? Listen, I have 2 kids. One is 21 from a previous relationship. He's up and out at this point. One is 8 years old. Noah, my 8-year-old, is getting ready so his mom is Canadian. He's going to spend 3 or 4 weeks up in Canada on their family farm. And then I'm flying back from Cyprus to pick him up, and we're going to spend a month over there. Everything that I do is around family, one way or the other. But I will tell you something that may be controversial. I don't know. It might be, it might not be. I did not have kids to just go to parent-teacher meetings or go to 38 kids activities all the time and not experience life a particular way. I have an understanding with my kids. Dad has stuff to do. You have stuff you need me to do, and I'm going to get it all done. If I need to get up and go do my Cyprus stuff for 3 weeks, that is setting my kids up for the future. That is doing legacy stuff for them that they are going to benefit from them. I include them in everything that I do. And when Dad has to get up and go, I get up and go. But when they need me, I am always here. I'm always available. But I don't allow kids to stop this kind of journey. I don't think we were intended to have children and just stop who we are as individuals. You have to find a way to mesh all that together. And that's just kind of what I've done over time.
And you talked about, and the last thing is huge here. And I think everyone's going to be, here. You talked about how you had those limiting beliefs that were holding you back because from a background, military, reservist, being an M-Day soldier, airman, and then being able to turn around and do this. Could you talk a little bit about the limiting beliefs? How do you have to break through those to make these jumps and leaps?
We have one life. We're all going to die at some point. Listen, if anyone who is military, or actually it doesn't matter if it's military, but by nature of my background, growing up where I grew up in inner city Boston, and then being a federal agent and in the military and deploying, and then being a street cop, which is way more dangerous than deploying. By nature of who I am as an individual, I run towards danger. None of this stuff bothers me. None of it. I don't know all the ins and outs of dealing with the Turkish Cypriot government. I'm gonna learn it. I have to learn it. So my philosophy over time has been, you just do it and you course correct. Of course I'm gonna make mistakes. It's inevitable. Of course I have lost money in my career, but when I tally everything up, if I would have had analysis paralysis for all the stuff that I would have done, I would have never been a restaurant owner 6 times over, a club owner, own all that single family, own all these multifamilies, help people, own property overseas, speak languages, visit 100. You cannot just allow fear to stop you from doing stuff. And any limiting belief you have, it's just because you are devoid of knowledge. The way that you figure it out, you find a podcast, a book, YouTube, or even better, you find somebody who's already done it. They will bridge the gap for you so fast that it empowers you to go get whatever you want done to get it done. I met my business partner, Aunt, a year ago, 1 year ago. And now I'm about to go hang out at his house for 2 months and sign contracts for property overseas and learn from him because he's been developing. I want to learn. Just do it and course correct. That's what I would say.
Okay. Maurice, thank you. And Stefan, thank you for having on these great guests that you have.
Thank you, Nelson, for joining, and the great questions that you ask as well, actually. So yeah, that's very inspirational, Maurice. That's really great, like for all of us. And so do you guys want to ask, do you guys have any more questions? We have about, we have a few more minutes.
Hey, sir. Thank you for doing this. I see you're a former Air Force or an OSI. I work with OSI a lot.
Yeah.
But could you speak a little bit more to the importance of the mentorship, especially like trying to start out? I'm here trying to start out, have a wife, 2 small kids, and I've been saving money and doing that thing, and so we have a good little nest egg ready. But I find myself falling into that analysis paralysis, and so just trying to link up with some folks who are actually doing it and just speak to that importance of that.
Yeah, I got 4 words for you, my man, Jay. Mentors accelerate your process. Mentors accelerate your process. That is the bottom line. And whether it's a paid mentor or a free mentor via podcast or YouTube or whatever, you know how I bought that first property, Jay, in 2003? I didn't say the story, but I'll say it now. I bought a place to live, which we all do. But that place in 2003 appreciated by $30,000 in 3 months. Now I'm just an immigrant kid from Boston. I didn't even know what the hell equity was. So I just called my father and he explained it. And I was stunned that I had just made $30,000. I didn't have a mentor, but I went and found 10 of them in the form of books at the library because there was no internet back then. I sat down in that library and in one sitting, I read 10 books in one day. And then by the end of the year, I bought 10 more properties. It was enough. It was enough to break free because like I said, the fear is just because we're lacking some kind of knowledge somewhere. So for me, it was books. And I screwed up royally a couple times. I don't care. Look where it got me, right? But nowadays, yep, I mentor people. I pay for mentors. Quattro Capital was refined off the back of a business coach that we hired to help us figure out our categories of improvement that we needed to do, who's going to have what role, what my role is going to be as a person. I am no longer the tip of the spear, if you will, special ops, go out in front guy to find real estate. I prefer to spend time with investor partners in the background and figure out life related stuff. I love doing that, but I needed a coach to help me figure out what my role was going to be as part of this team of 5, If not for the first mentor that I hired in 2016, I would not be here. That's bottom line. Maybe I'd be somewhere else and I'd be fine, but mentors are incredibly important. If you can afford it, do it. I'm not saying all of them are made the same, but it just accelerates the process. I'll just leave it there.
Thank you for that, sir.
And And Maurice, I guess that's the part where you talked about how you had I guess it was a coach. You had 2 years, you were talking about 2 years limiting beliefs, working on that. Could you go into that a bit?
Yeah. When I left, when I in 2015 said, look, man, I did really good at the single family stuff. I'm gonna bounce out and I'm gonna go do this multifamily. Every time I hit a roadblock, every single time, I didn't understand the financial underwriting. I didn't understand terms. I couldn't build relationships with brokers. My first thought was, man, I'm going back to single family where I know what I'm doing. That was my thought every single time, was go back to what was comfortable. It's crazy. And thank God, you know what that mentor did for me? He didn't have to do it. He got on a plane from Rhode Island, flew to DC, told me to take 2 days off from work, and we just sat and talked for 8 hours over 2 days. 3 weeks later, I was closing on a property. And his statement to me was, how come you think you can't do what I can do? How is it that you tried out for the NFL, you were about to be on the big stage, and you don't think you can work and figure out a real estate deal? Like, he got into me and challenged my manhood, if you will, in a very respectful way, but he got into me. So the limiting beliefs tend to push us right back to what we know, what is comfortable. You know, you're a nurse, but you want to be a lawyer. So, I don't want to go. It's going to be hard. I'm just going to stay a nurse. Well, you're just going to go right back to being comfortable and not becoming what you're supposed to be in this life. I think I'm supposed to be more. I think I'm supposed to create real communities overseas. I think I'm supposed to live a bi-coastal or bi-country lifestyle, if not more countries. I think I'm supposed to connect with as many people as I can, which is why I take my time to do these types of things. Limiting beliefs will destroy your life and keep you from achieving your potential. You can break it faster with a mentor. Just fact.
Thank you.
Y'all got me hyped up too. I'm passionate about this stuff. I love this stuff because we can do a lot more than what we're doing. We can.
Hey, Maurice, how are you doing?
I'm good, Vish, my man. What's up, brother?
Hey, it's always fantastic. Good to see you, and all you get us all pumped up and inspired and all jacked up.
My pleasure, bro. My pleasure, bro.
Man, I've known Maurice for a while right now, and I've been following Maurice on social media, and that is how I got connected with him. He's a great person to know. He's all about lifestyle, and I've learned a lot from him. But if you guys want to change your life, just follow his simple techniques.
Yeah, just
man, he's a great guy. I'm truly blessed and honored to have met him in this life.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Okay. Any maybe last question, guys?
Well, I'll ask one last one.
Yeah. You want to go ahead?
Talking about mentorships, and I asked sort of what qualities, as we're going to sort of find a mentor and look for one, whether or not we're paying for one or just connecting sort of organically, what are some of those qualities and characteristics that we should be looking for? Because of course, a lot of people are out selling programs and different things like that, but just some of those qualities that sort of stand out, maybe that we should try to hold on to.
It really did. You know, I would run for the hills when you talk to someone, they don't even ask you what your goals are, right? They don't even know, because I said it before, oh, get into real estate. No, real estate is just a tool. The amazing woman who's now living in Portugal, she didn't need real estate. She needed to shift how she was living on a day-to-day basis. Qualities in a mentor. Find someone who has done what it is that you are trying to do. I understand that, you know, you can have a trainer at the gym who's out of shape because there was a point in their life when they were in shape or they went to school for it. So they can speak the theoretical and have actually done it. Find someone who's done what it is you're trying to do. I don't know how to be a lawyer, so I can't help anyone do that. But if someone is looking to immerse themselves in cultures, make contacts overseas, create financial freedom, I think I can do that without a problem because I've done it. That would be the quality, Jay. Have they done what you are trying to do? Like Customato and Mike Tyson. I love that.
Great. So yeah, that was really inspirational. So Maurice, I see your contact information on the back. Is that so? Your email is one way to reach to you. LinkedIn as well.
Yeah. If you would, let me say one more thing. I am on Instagram at Maurice Philogene. I am on LinkedIn, Maurice Philogene. I'm on Facebook, Maurice Philogene, although I don't use Facebook that much. And then the website, it's there, thequattroway.com. There is not one person who has reached out to me that I've not had a conversation with in some particular form. So if you want to reach out, if you want to engage, man, like Vish knows this. I believe in creating together. I hate competition. I don't understand why we think we need to, like, that guy has 1,000 units, so I need to have 1,005 units or something. We are supposed to take ideas from each other and do good things with it. So if you guys reach out, I will definitely reach back out to you. And I love engaging people. You guys know that the last freedom principle I talked about was freedom of relationships. I love social because it gives us a mechanism by which we can communicate. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I have, like, 30 slots in my calendar to spend an hour, but why not voice text back and forth with each other or send some messages and share ideas and all that type of stuff. So I really encourage folks to reach out. And then if you're looking to get involved in real estate from a passive perspective or whatever, you can check out what we're doing for Quattro Capital. Just register for the portal. You'll see the work there. Yeah, I love this stuff. And again, real estate is a tool. It's just a tool to live a really good life. But there's other ways that you can engage meaningfully in this journey that we have, because we only have a certain amount of days here. So I hope you guys use this information and do something good with it. I really appreciate it, Stefan, because we don't have to do it the way that we were told, right? There's so many ways that we can enjoy this big, beautiful planet. And, I like being a part of people's journey. So reach out.
Yep. Yeah. Make sure to reach to Maurice, guys. And yeah, thanks so much for putting the time, here today.
Yeah.
It's been really great. And I think you've inspired a few people today. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Bye, guys.